So Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw is a spin-off of the Fast and Furious franchise. It was directed by David Leitch, who had his hand in movies such as John Wick, Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde, and it stars Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Idris Elba, Vanessa Kirby, Isaac Gonzalez. Helen Mirren returns into this movie too. And in this movie, following the events of the Fate of the Furious, a cybernetically enhanced human played by Idris Elba is taking over the world, and the only people that can stop him are Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw, played by Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham again, and they must stop him, and they have to have their families help them, and it's a Fast and Furious movie still. So I remember this movie was fine when I saw it back in 2019, I believe it came out. Yeah, it was like right before COVID, I remember. I remember it was all right. It was fine. It was entertaining. It didn't try to take itself too seriously. And it's like, okay, it's kind of like the rest of these Fast and Furious movies. It's fine, I guess. And I did get it on Blu-ray eventually when it was like on sale. So this movie, looking back on it, I honestly didn't know if I wanted to review this movie because I'm not sure how much of a connection it does have to the rest of the Fast and Furious franchise. So I decided to review it today, kind of right before I go see Fast X. And yeah, this movie it's not great. I didn't expect it to be a masterpiece. I'm not going into these movies expecting these to be like award-winning masterpieces by any means, but sometimes I gotta draw a line and I'm like, okay, some of it really doesn't work, but some of it does work. And Hobbs and Shaw, it's fine, it's passable, it doesn't really do too much. So what works in the movie? I kind of like the action in this movie, surprisingly. The action's a little bit more brutal than some of the other Fast and Furious movies. Like, they're a lot more painful, they're a lot more complex, I feel like. With someone like David Leitch, who was really involved with the action of John Wick, it kind of makes sense. And if you see the movies, if you've seen Atomic Blonde, you kind of see like a lot of the action from that movie. It's kind of in this movie too. And the action is definitely decent in this movie. As far as the actors go, like, they're fine. Like, their chemistry is fine. Like, when Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham are kind of just throwing insults at each other, they're fine. They're funny. Like, it's actually believable. The Idris Elba in this movie is having a lot of fun. Idris Elba never really got a chance in Hollywood, and I feel like this is his like one chance to be like a really over the top bad guy. Although he was the villain in the Jungle Book, I forgot about that. But here he's like on screen, he's just like very crazy. A lot of the jokes are really funny, and he never goes overboard with the jokes. I think he just brought the right amount of cheesiness to this movie. The chemistry between Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham is decent enough. It's like they brought it over from Fate of the Furious because of that one scene in that movie. So it's like, okay, why don't we just take this movie that we have sitting on the shelf and why don't we just throw you two in it because you had that one good scene in Fate of the Furious? Okay. And some of the humor, it works. When they're insulting each other, it's funny. Or when they're not really trying to hammer in a joke, which is, I'm going to get into my negatives about this movie. But it can be funny at times, and it's definitely like more of a buddy cop movie than it is a Fast and Furious movie, which it just became a spy series pretty much. So what don't I like about this movie? Some of the humor just falls flat, like really flat. They try to hammer in jokes really hard, and it's not funny because they just do it multiple times in single scenes. Like, there was this like one scene where Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham are going back and forth, and Dwayne Johnson's supposed to do like this, is doing this joke. It's going over and over again, and pretty much every line he has is that same joke. It's like, it wasn't funny once. It's definitely not funny a second time, and it's not funny the third, the fourth, or the fifth time. It's like, it's not funny. Just stop it. Also, the romance, there may be a hint of a romance between Hobbs and Shaw's sister, played by Vanessa Kirby. It doesn't work. It's very bland. It's very boring. Like, I just didn't buy into the romance at all in that movie. But then again, the movie only hinted at it rather than like really just go with it. And also, it's a Fast and Furious movie, so you know that you gotta mention family in some way. And I just felt like the whole thing was kind of half-assed, particularly with Dwayne Johnson's character, like how they kind of throw his family into the whole thing. Like, Cliff Curtis does an alright job in the movie, but other than that, I felt like it didn't really need to be in this movie. It just felt like, what's missing from this Fast and Furious spin-off movie? Family, of course. So now we have this whole thing where it just throws in there. And that's kind of the best way to describe Hobbs and Shaw. It's that it feels like it wasn't made to be a Fast and Furious movie at first. But then they were like, how do we sell this off? The script's not great. How do we sell this off? We could just make it into a Fast and Furious movie. Just make it a spin-off between these two characters because Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel are arguing right now. Let's put Dwayne Johnson into a movie with Jason Statham. And yeah, let's just roll with it. Let's just make it a buddy cop cartoon movie. And in times when it does work for sometimes, but sometimes it just doesn't. And a lot of the CGI really doesn't work in this movie. It's not as bad as like in Fast 9 or anything like that, but it's it's just not great. Like the action is a lot better in it than the CGI. So overall, the action is fine. The acting is decent at least. There's some good jokes. The chemistry is passable enough, but some of the jokes fall flat. It just feels very lazy at times. And I just feel like, you know, when you're going into a movie like this, you kind of already know what you're expecting. You're expecting a live action cartoon. And if that's what you want, then this is perfect. If you want a really good buddy cop movie, you could do a lot better than this. But at the same time, you could do a whole lot worse than this. So I'll give Hobbs and Shaw 2 out of 4 stars. Stream it. So, what's your favorite buddy cop movie? Or like, buddy action comedy or whatever? Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.